"No one wants me. I need a husband," said the Apache woman, begging the cowboy for one last chance. Her village was simple, with clay and wooden homes, dusty paths, and families who had lived there for generations. The mountains in the distance rose like silent guardians, and the river that flowed near the village carried stories from faraway lands. Naomi had grown up here, running through the fields as a child, helping her mother gather firewood and learning the ways of her people. She was known in the village for her intelligence, her kind heart, and her determination. But despite her many talents and good qualities, Naomi felt something was missing. She had watched her friends and cousins marry and start families, while she remained alone. She had always dreamed of finding someone who would understand her, someone who would see her not just for her beauty but for her courage and her spirit. Yet, time and again, men had come and gone, intimidated by her strong will or unable to meet her standards. Naomi had learned to be independent, to take care of herself, and to survive, but her heart longed for companionship, for a partner she could trust, and for the comfort of love. Her family had always supported her in many ways, but they too began to worry. Naomi's grandmother, a wise woman who had seen many seasons and hardships, often spoke to her gently about the importance of patience. "Naomi," she would say, "the right person will come when the time is right. Do not let desperation guide your heart. Your spirit is too bright to settle for anything less than what you truly deserve." But Naomi's heart was heavy. She had waited long, and the loneliness sometimes felt like a shadow that followed her wherever she went. One crisp morning, Naomi woke with a sense that today might be different. She had spent the night thinking, staring at the stars above her village, and wondering if somewhere beyond the mountains, someone awaited her. She had heard stories of towns nearby where cowboys and travelers came from distant places, men who had seen much of the world and lived lives of adventure. Perhaps among them, there would be someone who could see her heart clearly and not be frightened by her strength. She packed her small bag carefully, taking only the essentials, a few pieces of clothing, a blanket, and some food for the journey. Her grandmother watched quietly as Naomi prepared to leave, her eyes filled with concern and understanding. "Remember, Naomi," she said softly, "the path you choose will not be easy, but if your heart is honest and brave, you may find what you are searching for." Naomi nodded, though she did not speak much. She felt a mixture of fear and hope. The thought of leaving her village was frightening, but the possibility of finding love made her steps feel lighter. As Naomi stepped out of her home, the village seemed to pause. Children played in the dust, women carried water from the river, and elders mended baskets in the shade. But today, all eyes seemed to turn toward her. Some whispered quietly, "She is so brave, walking alone into the unknown," while others murmured, "She must be desperate if she thinks she can find a husband in a town full of strangers." Naomi ignored the whispers. Her mind was focused on the journey ahead and on the hope that maybe, just maybe, this time would be different. The road to the town was long and winding. Naomi walked through fields of tall grass that swayed in the wind, crossed small streams where the water was cold and clear, and passed through forests where the sunlight created patterns on the ground. Along the way, she encountered travelers and merchants, some offering a friendly smile, others casting curious glances. Naomi smiled politely in return but kept her mind on the goal she had set for herself. Each step took her further from her village, but it also took her closer to the chance she had been waiting for. By midday, Naomi arrived at a small hill overlooking the town she had heard so much about. From a distance, she could see wooden buildings, horses tied to posts, and people moving about in the streets. The town was busy, full of life and energy, and Naomi felt a thrill of excitement. She had never seen so many people outside her village. It was both frightening and exhilarating. She took a deep breath, adjusted the strap of her bag, and began to make her way down into the town. As she walked through the streets, Naomi noticed men working with horses, tending to wagons, or speaking with townsfolk. She kept her eyes open, looking for someone who might understand her, someone who might see her as more than just a young woman seeking a husband. It was not easy. Many men were busy with their work. Some looked at her with polite curiosity, others seemed uninterested or distracted. Naomi did not let this discourage her. She had come too far to turn back now. It was near the edge of town, by a small river where some men had tied their horses, that Naomi first saw him, Jack. He was a cowboy, tall and broad-shouldered, with eyes that seemed to carry the weight of many experiences. His hands were strong, weathered by years of hard work, and his posture spoke of confidence and quiet strength. Naomi felt an unexpected pull in her heart. There was something about him, something that made her believe that maybe he could understand her. Naomi approached him carefully, her heart pounding. Jack noticed her immediately, pausing in his work and studying her with curiosity. She spoke clearly, her voice steady but filled with emotion. "Please," she said, "I have come a long way and I need someone to understand me. I need a husband, someone who can share life with me. Will you give me one last chance?" Jack was taken aback. He had never been approached in such a way, especially by someone so honest and unafraid to express her heart. He did not respond immediately, instead watching Naomi carefully. There was a sincerity in her eyes that spoke of both strength and vulnerability, a combination he rarely encountered. After a moment, he nodded slightly and invited her to sit by the river. "Tell me your story," he said. "I will listen." Naomi sat on a smooth rock by the riverbank, feeling a mixture of relief and nervousness. She began to tell him about her life in the village, her family, her dreams, and her loneliness. She spoke of the heartbreak she had endured, of the men who had left or who could not understand her, and of her hope that someone, somewhere, would see her for who she truly was. Jack listened quietly, his eyes never leaving hers, and for the first time in a long while, Naomi felt that someone truly heard her. As the sun began to set, painting the sky with shades of orange and pink, Naomi felt a small spark of hope. She did not know if Jack would ever become the husband she longed for the first time in many years, she felt seen. She realized that sometimes, courage was not only about taking care of oneself, but also about reaching out and trusting another person. Today, she had taken that step. Jack, too, felt something he had not expected. Naomi's honesty and courage had touched him. He admired her for seeking what she needed without pretense, and he respected the strength it took for her to approach a stranger in a town full of people. He knew nothing was certain, but he felt a connection that made him want to know more about her, to understand the life she had lived and the dreams she carried. As the night fell and the stars appeared one by one in the sky, Naomi and Jack remained by the river, talking softly about their lives, their hopes, and their fears. Naomi felt a warmth in her heart, a feeling she had almost forgotten. She did not know what the future held, but for now she felt that perhaps this journey, long and lonely as it had been, was leading her toward something meaningful. And so Naomi's story began, not with certainty, but with hope, courage, and the first steps toward a connection that could change both her life and Jack's. She had left her village seeking a chance, and in that small town by the river, she had found the possibility of love, respect, and understanding. A beginning that promised more than she had dared to dream. Naomi felt a mixture of excitement and nervousness as she spent more time. In the town, the sun had just risen over the hills, casting golden light over the wooden buildings and the dust-filled streets. The river beside which she had met Jack sparkled in the early morning, reflecting the sky like a mirror. She had not expected that simply speaking from her heart would lead to an invitation to sit and talk, yet here she was. Her nerves eased slightly as she saw Jack approach, his steps confident but careful, as though he, too, was unsure of where this new encounter might lead. Jack greeted Naomi with a small, respectful nod, offering her a hand as he led her to a quiet spot near the riverbank. The morning was calm, with only the soft sounds of flowing water and distant birds filling the air. Naomi felt her heart beat faster, aware that this meeting could change her life. She did not yet know if Jack would become the person she had hoped for, but she sensed something different about him, something genuine that she had not seen in anyone else before. Jack began to speak carefully, choosing his words as if they carried great weight. "Naomi," he said, "you have been honest with me. That is rare. Many people hide their feelings, afraid to show who they truly are, but you have nothing to hide. That is brave." Naomi listened intently, feeling a warmth in her chest at his words. She had always believed that honesty was important, yet few people had ever recognized it as a strength in her. She began to tell him more about her life in the village, sharing details she had never spoken aloud to anyone else. She described her childhood, running through the fields, climbing trees, and helping her mother with chores. She spoke of the quiet evenings spent with her grandmother, listening to stories of their ancestors and learning the ways of her people. Naomi explained how she had watched her friends marry and start families while she remained alone. and how each passing year had made her more determined to find someone who could truly understand her. Jack listened silently, occasionally nodding, but mostly allowing Naomi to speak without interruption. He noticed the way her eyes lit up when she spoke of her family, and the quiet sadness that surfaced when she mentioned her loneliness. He could see her strength, but also the vulnerability that she rarely showed to anyone else. Jack felt a deep respect growing within him for this young woman who had walked such a long path to seek understanding and connection. As Naomi spoke, Jack began to share his own story. He spoke of his childhood on a distant ranch, where he had grown up working with horses and learning the ways of the land. He told her of the early loss of his parents and the years he had spent wandering from town to town, helping people with their work and protecting those who could not protect themselves. He admitted that despite his reputation as a strong and fearless cowboy, he often felt alone. His adventures and work had brought him respect and recognition, but little companionship. Naomi listened with fascination. She realized that Jack, too, carried a loneliness similar to her own. His life had been full of challenges, yet he had faced them with courage and integrity. For the first time, Naomi felt that she was speaking to someone who could understand her experiences, someone whose heart might be capable of connecting with hers. She felt a glimmer of hope, a delicate spark that perhaps, finally, she had found a person who could see her for who she truly was. The day passed slowly as they continued to share their stories. Naomi spoke of the traditions of her people, the lessons her grandmother had taught her, and the values she held close to her heart. Jack listened intently, asking questions not out of curiosity alone, but because he genuinely wanted to understand her world. He admired her courage in leaving her village to seek what she desired, recognizing that it took great strength to step beyond familiar boundaries. By late afternoon, the sun had shifted, casting long shadows across the town. Naomi and Jack walked along the river, sometimes in silence, letting the sound of flowing water and rustling leaves speak for them. Naomi realized that she felt comfortable with him in a way she had never felt with anyone else. She could be herself without fear of judgment, and she sensed that Jack felt the same. Jack, for his part, felt an unfamiliar warmth in Naomi's presence. He had encountered many people in his travels, but few had touched him with their honesty and courage. Naomi's words and actions revealed a heart that was strong yet gentle, independent yet longing for connection. He admired her not only for her beauty, but for her resilience, her determination, and her willingness to reach out for what she truly wanted. As evening approached, Jack invited Naomi to sit on a large rock near the riverbank. The sky was painted with shades of pink, orange, and purple, and the air had a crisp, calming feel. Naomi accepted, feeling a sense of peace she had not known in a long time. They spoke quietly, sharing their dreams for the future. Naomi spoke of her desire for a family and a life filled with partnership and understanding. Jack shared his hope of finding someone to share his adventures with, someone who could stand by him through challenges and joys alike. There was a moment of silence, where both of them seemed to absorb the presence of the other. Naomi felt her heart beat faster, yet not with fear, rather with hope and anticipation. She realized that trust was beginning to grow between them, a delicate bond forming that was built on honesty, shared experiences, and mutual respect. Jack felt the same way, recognizing that Naomi's sincerity and strength had touched him deeply. Night fell, and the stars appeared one by one in the darkening sky. The river reflected their light, creating a scene of quiet beauty and calm. Naomi and Jack remained by the water, talking softly about life, courage, and the lessons they had learned. Naomi felt a sense of belonging, a feeling she had longed for but never truly found until this moment. Jack felt an unfamiliar warmth in his chest, a connection that made him want to know more, to walk further along this path with her. Before parting for the night, Jack offered Naomi a place to stay nearby. He wanted her to feel safe, knowing that the town could be overwhelming for someone who had traveled alone. Naomi accepted with gratitude, sensing that this small act of kindness was another sign of the respect and care he had for her. As she settled into her temporary lodging, she thought about the day and the moments they had shared. For the first time in years, Naomi felt that perhaps her search for a meaningful connection was not in vain. The next morning, Naomi awoke with renewed hope. She had spent the night reflecting on her conversations with Jack, realizing that her courage in speaking honestly had opened a door she had never imagined. She felt a determination to continue exploring this connection, to understand Jack and his world, and to see where their journey might lead. The town was waking around her, filled with the sounds of life and work, and Naomi felt ready to face whatever challenges might come. When she met Jack again that morning, he greeted her with a warm smile. "Are you ready for today?" he asked. Naomi nodded, feeling a mixture of excitement and nervousness. She did not know what lay ahead, but she knew that together they could explore the possibilities. They began walking through the town and beyond, discussing plans, dreams, and hopes for the future. Each step they took strengthened their bond, revealing a growing trust and understanding between them. By the end of the day, Naomi realized that the journey she had begun, leaving her village, seeking a connection, and meeting someone who truly listened, was only the beginning. Jack had shown her that love and companionship were not simply found. They were built through trust, honesty, and shared experiences. She felt a sense of hope and anticipation, understanding that the path ahead would require patience, courage, and openness, but that it could lead to something truly meaningful. As they returned to the river that evening, Naomi felt grateful for the journey she had undertaken. She had stepped out of her comfort zone, faced her fears, and allowed herself to be vulnerable. In return, she had found someone who listened, respected her, and saw the strength and beauty of her heart. She knew that the days ahead would bring new challenges and tests, but for the first time, she believed that she might not be alone anymore, that perhaps she had found someone with whom she could truly share her life. Naomi had spent several days in the town now, and each day brought her closer to understanding Jack. She was careful, yet open, wanting to know more about the man who had listened to her heart with such patience and respect. Each morning, she woke with a mixture of excitement and nervousness, wondering what new discoveries the day would bring. Jack, too, felt anticipation whenever he met Naomi. Her presence brought a quiet warmth to his life, something he had not realized he was missing until now. One morning, Jack suggested they take a walk outside the town, along a path that followed the river and led into the rolling plains beyond. Naomi agreed, feeling a thrill at the thought of exploring the land with him. As they walked, the early sunlight painted the hills with shades of gold and green, and the river reflected the sky in shimmering waves. The beauty of the landscape seemed to mirror the growing connection between them, fresh, full of possibility and unspoken promise. As they walked side by side, Naomi decided to share more of her story. She told Jack about her childhood, how she had learned the ways of her people, and how her grandmother had taught her to value strength, courage, and wisdom. She spoke of her family, describing the closeness she felt with her siblings and the warmth of her parents before they passed away. She admitted that losing her parents at a young age had left a quiet ache in her heart, one that had never fully healed. Jack listened intently, nodding at the right moments, but mostly remaining silent so that Naomi could speak freely. He was struck by her openness, the way she trusted him with details of her life that she had rarely shared with anyone. Her voice carried a mixture of sorrow and hope, a combination that fascinated him. He realized that Naomi's strength was not only in her actions, but in her ability to feel deeply, to care, and to continue moving forward despite the challenges she had faced. When Naomi paused, Jack began to speak about his own life. He told her about the ranch where he had grown up, the chores he had done as a boy, and the lessons he had learned about hard work and responsibility. He spoke of his parents, how their passing had forced him to become independent at a young age, and how he had spent years wandering from town to town, helping people and living a life of service and adventure. He admitted that the life he led often left him lonely, admired by many but understood by few. Naomi listened closely, noticing the quiet pain behind Jack's confident demeanor. She realized that, like her, he had experienced loss and solitude, and that the experiences they shared had shaped them into the people they were today. She felt a deep respect for him, not only for his bravery but for his honesty in sharing his life with her. In turn, Jack felt admiration for Naomi's resilience and the courage it had taken for her to leave her village and seek connection in a town full of strangers. As the morning turned to afternoon, they found a shady spot beneath a large tree by the river. Naomi sat down on the soft grass, and Jack leaned against the trunk, both feeling a sense of ease in each other's presence. Naomi spoke of her dreams, explaining that she longed for a life where she could build a home filled with love, laughter, and partnership. She emphasized that she wanted a husband who could be her equal, someone who would stand beside her through the joys and hardships of life. Jack nodded thoughtfully. "That is rare," he said. "Many people are not looking for partnership. They want someone to follow them, to fit into their world instead of building something together. But you understand that life is shared. That is what makes you different." Naomi felt a rush of gratitude and relief. It was the first time someone had acknowledged that her desire for equality and partnership was not a flaw but a strength. They continued to talk for hours, sharing stories from their pasts and dreams for the future. Naomi described her village traditions, the festivals, and the ways her people celebrated the changing seasons. Jack told her about his travels, the towns he had visited, and the people he had helped along the way. Each story built a bridge between them, connecting their lives in ways neither had expected. They laughed together at humorous memories, and sometimes fell silent as they reflected on hardships they had faced alone. As the sun began to lower in the sky, casting long shadows across the plains, Naomi realized how comfortable she felt with Jack. She could be herself without pretense, and she sensed that he felt the same. There was no judgment, only understanding and growing trust. Jack, too, felt a quiet happiness in Naomi's presence. Her honesty, strength, and courage had touched him deeply, and he found himself wanting to protect her, to support her, and to explore the life they could build together. The walk back toward town was filled with a gentle silence, broken occasionally by shared observations about the land or small comments about their dreams. Naomi noticed that Jack often glanced at her, as though checking to see if she was safe, comfortable, or at ease. She found comfort in his attention, recognizing it as a sign of care and respect rather than control. Jack, for his part, felt a sense of responsibility and connection growing inside him. He realized that Naomi was not only seeking a partner, she was offering him a chance to be part of something meaningful as well. That evening, as they sat by the river again, Naomi reflected on the day. She had shared pieces of herself she had never revealed to anyone else, and she had listened to Jack's life with empathy and understanding. She realized that the connection between them was growing stronger, built on trust, respect, and shared experiences. For the first time, she felt that perhaps she had found someone who could truly understand her heart. Jack, too, was thinking about the day. He had seen Naomi's strength, her courage, and her honesty. He had felt the depth of her heart and recognized that she was different from anyone he had ever met. He realized that he wanted to be part of her life, to walk alongside her through challenges and joys, and to see where this connection could lead. He understood that love was not just about attraction, but about shared understanding, mutual respect, and a willingness to grow together. The following days were filled with more shared experiences. Naomi accompanied Jack as he tended to his tasks in town, helping him care for horses, organize supplies, and assist townsfolk who needed guidance. She proved herself capable, learning quickly and adapting to the routines of the town. Jack watched her with admiration, seeing not only her strength but her determination to contribute meaningfully. Naomi felt proud, realizing that she was not just asking for love but also offering her own skills, care, and companionship in return. During quiet moments, they would sit by the river or under the trees, talking about life, dreams, and hopes. Naomi began to understand that Jack was not just a strong and brave cowboy. He was a man with a gentle heart, capable of deep empathy and understanding. Jack realized that Naomi was not only courageous and determined, but also compassionate and wise beyond her years. The bond between them grew with each conversation, each shared experience, and each moment of quiet understanding. One evening, as the sun set and the sky turned shades of orange and pink, Naomi and Jack sat together in comfortable silence. The river reflected the colors of the sky, and the air was filled with the soft sounds of nature. Naomi felt a sense of peace she had never known, realizing that the connection she shared with Jack was something rare and precious. She understood that love was not about rushing or demanding, but about growing together, learning from one another, and building trust step by step. Jack reached out and gently took Naomi's hand. She felt a shiver of warmth run through her, not from fear but from a growing sense of hope and belonging. They sat together, hands intertwined, feeling the quiet strength of their bond. Naomi realized that for the first time in her life she felt truly seen and understood. Jack felt the same, recognizing that Naomi's heart was genuine, brave, and capable of giving and receiving love in a way he had longed for. As night fell, they stood and walked back to the town, the stars above them shining brightly. Naomi felt a quiet joy in her heart, knowing that the journey she had begun, leaving her village, seeking understanding, and sharing her life with Jack, was bringing her closer to the connection she had always dreamed of. Jack, too, felt a deep sense of gratitude, realizing that Naomi had opened a door to something meaningful, something that could grow into a life shared together. In the days that followed, Naomi and Jack continued to explore their bond. They faced small challenges together, learned to communicate more openly, and discovered the joy of shared experiences. Each moment reinforced the growing trust and understanding between them. Naomi felt a sense of purpose and belonging, while Jack felt a rare happiness that he had never known. Together, they were learning the meaning of partnership, discovering that love was not just a feeling, but a journey built on patience, respect, and shared courage. By the end of this period, Naomi realized that she had found something precious. She had taken a risk by leaving her village, by reaching out to Jack, and by trusting her heart. In return, she had received understanding, respect, and the beginnings of love. Jack had come to appreciate her strength, her courage, and her honesty. Together, they were beginning to build a foundation for a life that promised companionship, shared challenges, and the joy of mutual support. After spending several days getting to know one another, Naomi and Jack realized that they needed to experience life together beyond the calm of the town. Jack suggested they venture out into the open plains and surrounding hills, where the work of a cowboy was unpredictable and often challenging. Naomi, though nervous, agreed. She knew that if she truly wanted to understand Jack's world, and if he was to see hers, she had to take these steps together. Early one morning, they set off with the horses, walking past the edges of the town and into the vast plains. The sky was painted in soft shades of pink and orange, and a cool breeze carried the scent of grass and wildflowers. Naomi felt her heart beat faster. The open land, while beautiful, was unfamiliar and a little intimidating. Jack noticed her nervousness and smiled reassuringly. "Don't worry," he said gently. "I'll be with you every step of the way." Naomi nodded, feeling both comforted and encouraged by his words. The first task was to help drive a small herd of cattle to a nearby ranch. Jack explained each step carefully, showing Naomi how to guide the animals without startling them and how to use her voice and body to signal commands. Naomi listened attentively, absorbing every detail. She had grown up in a village surrounded by nature, but managing a herd of cattle in open plains was a new experience. Despite her initial hesitation, she soon found herself gaining confidence, and Jack watched with quiet admiration as she adapted quickly to the work. During the journey, they encountered small obstacles. Some cattle strayed from the group, and Naomi had to act quickly to guide them back without panicking. Jack offered advice, but he allowed Naomi to take the lead whenever possible, recognizing that she was learning and proving her courage. Naomi felt a thrill each time she successfully managed a challenge. She realized that bravery was not about never feeling fear, but about facing it and taking action despite it. As the day progressed, the sun climbed high in the sky and the heat became intense. They stopped to rest by a shaded area near a stream, where Naomi drank water and wiped sweat from her forehead. Jack handed her a small piece of bread and cheese, and they sat in companionable silence for a few moments. Naomi felt a sense of peace, understanding that the work they were doing together was more than just a test. It was an opportunity to see each other's strengths, patience, and character. While resting, Naomi asked Jack about the hardest challenges he had faced in his life. He spoke of long days spent riding through storms, helping people in trouble, and dealing with the loneliness that often accompanied his work. He admitted that there had been moments when he felt completely alone, yet he had always found a way to continue. Naomi listened intently, understanding that his strength was not only in his physical abilities, but also in his resilience, determination, and ability to face hardships with courage. Jack, in turn, asked Naomi about the struggles she had faced growing up in her village, how she had handled the loss of her parents, and what it had been like to face repeated rejection when seeking a life partner. Naomi spoke honestly, revealing her fears, disappointments, and hopes. She told him that leaving her village had been one of the hardest decisions of her life, but she had felt it was necessary to find a connection that could truly last. Jack was impressed by her honesty and her courage, realizing that Naomi's strength was more than physical. It was the strength of heart and mind. In the late afternoon, they encountered their first real challenge together. A sudden storm rolled across the plains, bringing strong winds and heavy rain. The cattle scattered in different directions, and Naomi and Jack had to act quickly to prevent them from running into danger. Jack called out commands, while Naomi moved with determination to guide the animals back towards safety. The wind lashed against their faces, and the rain soaked them to the skin, but they did not give up. Together, they worked tirelessly, communicating silently with glances and gestures, each learning to trust the other's instincts and decisions. After what felt like hours, the herd was finally under control. Both were drenched, exhausted, and covered in mud, yet there was a shared sense of triumph between them. Naomi felt a surge of pride, not just for managing the herd, but for proving to herself that she could face challenges she had never imagined. Jack looked at her with admiration and a hint of awe. He had seen her courage, patience, and quick thinking, and he knew that she was more than capable of standing beside him in any situation. As the storm passed and the sky cleared, they found shelter under a large rock overhang. They sat close together, drying off and sharing a simple meal. Naomi realized that the trials of the day had brought them closer, not just as companions, but as partners who could rely on each other. Jack felt a similar sense of connection, recognizing that Naomi was not only brave and capable, but also compassionate, thoughtful, and resilient. He admired the way she had handled the storm, and he respected the strength of her spirit. Over the next few days, they continued to face various challenges. They rode long distances across uneven terrain, navigated rivers and streams, and worked to help local ranchers with their herds. Each experience tested their patience, endurance, and cooperation. Naomi proved herself time and again, learning quickly and adapting to situations she had never encountered before. Jack, in turn, demonstrated his skill, wisdom, and protective instincts, allowing Naomi to grow in confidence while guiding her safely through each obstacle. During quiet moments, they would sit together by the river or under a tree, reflecting on the events of the day. Naomi spoke of her fears, hopes, and dreams, while Jack shared stories of his past experiences and the lessons he had learned. Each conversation strengthened their understanding of one another, and a deep bond began to form. A bond built not only on admiration and attraction, but also on mutual respect, trust, and shared experiences. One evening, after a particularly long day of work, Naomi and Jack sat by the campfire. The sky was filled with stars, and the air was cool and calm. Naomi reflected on the past few days, realizing how much she had grown and how much she had learned from Jack. She understood that love was not just about words or promises, but about actions, support, and facing challenges together. Jack, too, felt a sense of gratitude and admiration for Naomi, recognizing that her courage, determination, and heart had made her not only a companion, but also a true partner. As the fire crackled and the night grew darker, they shared stories from their childhoods, laughed at small memories, and spoke of dreams for the future. Naomi felt a growing sense of trust and security with Jack, realizing that she could rely on him and that he could rely on her. Jack, in turn, felt a deepening connection, knowing that Naomi's honesty, bravery, and strength were rare qualities he had long admired but rarely encountered. The days that followed continued to test them, but each challenge strengthened their bond. Naomi learned to ride with confidence, manage livestock, and face unpredictable situations with composure. Jack learned to appreciate Naomi's instincts, intelligence, and courage, seeing that she was more than capable of facing life's challenges alongside him. Together, they developed a rhythm, a partnership built on trust, understanding, and shared experiences. By the end of their time in the plains, Naomi and Jack had faced storms, long rides, and demanding work, yet they emerged stronger and closer than ever. Naomi felt proud of herself, not just for surviving the challenges, but for proving that she could meet life's demands with courage and grace. Jack felt admiration and respect, recognizing that Naomi was a remarkable woman who had earned his trust and his heart. As they returned to the town, Naomi reflected on the journey they had shared. She realized that the challenges they faced had not only tested her strength, but had also revealed the depth of their bond. She understood that true partnership was about facing difficulties together, supporting one another, and growing as a team. Jack felt the same, recognizing that Naomi's courage, determination, and compassion had made her not only a trusted companion, but also someone he deeply cared for. That night, as they sat by the river once more, Naomi felt a sense of hope and joy she had never experienced before. She had taken risks, faced fears, and shared her life with someone who respected, admired, and understood her. Jack felt a growing certainty that Naomi was someone special, someone who could walk beside him through the challenges and joys of life. Together, they knew that they had built a foundation of trust, courage, and connection that could support a lifetime of shared experiences. Naomi and Jack had spent weeks together, facing challenges, sharing stories, and learning to understand one another in ways neither had imagined. Their bond had grown stronger with each passing day. Naomi had discovered courage and strength she had never fully realized, and Jack had found a depth of connection that filled the quiet spaces in his heart. They were no longer two individuals seeking companionship. They were a partnership, united by respect, trust, and growing love. One morning, Jack suggested they take a walk to a hill overlooking the town and the river. The air was crisp and filled with the scents of wild flowers and fresh grass. Naomi felt a flutter in her heart. She knew that Jack had something important to say, though she could not yet guess what it might be. They walked side by side, sometimes in silence, letting the soft sounds of nature accompany them. As they reached the top of the hill, the view took their breath away. The town below seemed peaceful, the river sparkled in the sunlight, and the mountains rose majestically in the distance. Jack stopped and turned to Naomi. His eyes held a seriousness she had not often seen, but also a warmth that reassured her. "Naomi," he began, "these past weeks have shown me many things. I have seen your courage, your honesty, and your heart. You have faced challenges with strength I admire, and you have shared your life with me openly without fear. I need you to know that I have come to care for you deeply." Naomi's heart raced. She had hoped for these words, but hearing them aloud made her chest swell with emotion. She reached for his hand, feeling its warmth, and saw the sincerity in his eyes. Jack continued, "I have never met anyone like you. You have taught me what partnership truly means, not just standing together in easy times, but facing hardships, supporting each other, and growing as one. I want to continue this journey with you, not just for a day or a week, but for a lifetime." Naomi's eyes filled with tears of joy. She realized that the risk she had taken, leaving her village and trusting her heart, had brought her exactly what she had been searching for. Naomi spoke softly, her voice trembling with emotion. "Jack, I came here hoping for a chance, a hope that someone would understand me and see my heart. I never expected to find someone like you. You have shown me patience, respect, and courage. I want to walk this path with you, too. I want to share my life, my dreams, and my heart with you." Jack smiled, feeling a sense of completeness he had never experienced before. Together, they stood on the hill, holding hands and looking at the world below, knowing that they were ready to face life together. The days that followed were filled with preparation and excitement. Naomi and Jack returned to the town and began planning a simple ceremony to celebrate their union. Though they did not have extravagant means, they focused on what mattered most: family, community, and their commitment to one another. Naomi's grandmother, who had worried yet supported Naomi's journey, arrived to give her blessing. She looked at Naomi and Jack and smiled warmly. "You have both shown courage and honesty," she said. "Your bond is strong and your hearts are true. May you always support and cherish each other." Naomi felt a wave of gratitude and love for her grandmother, knowing that her guidance had helped her make the choices that led to this moment. On the day of their union, the town gathered to celebrate. Neighbors, friends, and those who had come to know Naomi and Jack over the past weeks joined together. Naomi wore a simple dress, her hair braided with wildflowers she had picked herself, while Jack wore his best shirt and trousers, though still practical for work. They exchanged vows beneath a large tree near the river, the same place where their bond had grown stronger through conversation, laughter, and shared trials. Jack spoke first, his voice steady but full of emotion. "Naomi, I promise to walk beside you through all of life's challenges. I promise to respect your heart, to cherish your courage, and to love you with honesty and dedication. Together we will face the world, support each other, and build a life filled with trust, joy, and companionship." Naomi listened, her eyes glistening, feeling the truth in every word. She knew that Jack's promises were not just words, they were backed by the actions she had witnessed over weeks of shared work, challenges, and understanding. Naomi then spoke, her voice soft but firm. "Jack, I promise to be your partner in every way. I promise to support you, to share in your joys and hardships, and to be honest with you always. I promise to respect your heart and to walk beside you with courage, love, and understanding. Together, we will create a life built on trust, respect, and shared dreams." The townspeople smiled, some wiping tears from their eyes. The sincerity and love between Naomi and Jack was evident to all, a bond formed through patience, trust, and courage. After the ceremony, they walked together to the riverbank, where the water reflected the bright sunlight and the world seemed calm and full of promise. Naomi rested her head on Jack's shoulder, feeling a sense of peace she had never known before. Jack wrapped his arm around her, realizing that this was more than just a union. It was the beginning of a life built on mutual understanding, shared courage, and unwavering love. The days that followed were filled with joy and adaptation as Naomi and Jack began their life together. Naomi learned more about Jack's work, helping him with the horses and assisting townsfolk when needed. Jack continued to admire her resilience, intelligence, and strength, seeing that she was not only capable of handling challenges, but also brought a sense of calm, joy, and balance to his life. They discovered that life together was not always easy, but it was meaningful, and every challenge strengthened their connection. In quiet moments, they would sit by the river or under a tree, sharing stories, dreams, and reflections. Naomi would recount memories from her village, traditions she wanted to continue, and hopes for the family she dreamed of building. Jack would share tales of his travels, lessons learned, and the happiness he felt knowing Naomi was by his side. They laughed together, supported each other, and found comfort in the simple joys of life. Weeks turned into months, and Naomi and Jack's bond grew stronger. They faced minor challenges, storms, work on the plains, and occasional disagreements, but they approached every situation with patience and understanding. Naomi learned that love was not just a feeling but a commitment to stand together, support one another, and grow as a team. Jack realized that true partnership required trust, empathy, and the willingness to see the world through another person's eyes. Their love became a quiet, steady force in both their lives. Naomi no longer feared loneliness, and Jack no longer felt the weight of solitude. Together, they created a home filled with laughter, care, and mutual respect. The town came to admire their partnership, seeing in them an example of how love could grow through honesty, courage, and shared experiences. One evening, as the sun set and painted the sky in shades of orange and purple, Naomi and Jack sat by the river, reflecting on the journey that had brought them together. Naomi thought about the courage it had taken to leave her village, to approach a stranger, and to trust her heart. Jack thought about the lessons he had learned from her, about patience, honesty, and the strength of the human heart. Both felt a quiet gratitude, knowing that their journey had been challenging, yet rewarding, and that their love was built on a foundation that could endure anything. Naomi turned to Jack, smiling softly. "I never thought I would find someone who truly understands me," she said. Jack squeezed her hand gently. "And I never thought I would find someone whose courage and heart inspire me every day," he replied. They sat together in comfortable silence, the river flowing gently beside them, feeling that their hearts had finally found a home in each other. As the years went on, Naomi and Jack continued to build their life together. They faced new challenges, celebrated successes, and supported one another through difficult times. Their bond, formed through honesty, shared experiences, and mutual respect, grew stronger with every passing day. Naomi's village and the town came to respect their partnership, seeing in them a story of courage, hope, and love that inspired everyone around them. Naomi often thought back to the day she first approached Jack by the river, her heart full of hope and fear. She realized that taking that step, speaking honestly, and trusting in the possibility of connection had changed her life forever. Jack felt the same. He knew that meeting Naomi had brought him a joy and fulfillment he had never known, and that together they had created something rare and precious. And so, Naomi and Jack's story became one of hope, love, and resilience. It was a story that showed the power of honesty, courage, and trust in bringing two hearts together. They had faced loneliness, uncertainty, and challenges, but in the end, Their patience, bravery, and commitment had led them to a life filled with love, partnership, and shared dreams. Together, they had found not only a husband and wife, but true companions, united in heart and spirit, ready to face whatever life had in store.